I guess the future for this particular thing isn't looking as ultra smooth as we first thought. Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now Dragon Ball has its fair share of tricks and tools for our characters to use throughout the course of a series and or saga. It's par for the course really. You can't have Dragon Ball without the use of transformations and techniques which utterly change the pace of a particular battle and everything else after it, as well as toy sales. It's become synonymous with it. If you didn't have it, then we just have martial arts. Wait. Our focus for today's discussion is of course the likes of the most recent and most significant addition to the roster of assets that our heroes have. And yes, anyone can get this. It's not a Goku exclusive thing, remember, even though they want us to forget that. And that is of course Ultra Instinct. Ah, Ultra Instinct. I think it's safe to say that this thing might be the most back and forth form? Transformation? Technique? Did it ever get settled in the end? No? Well, okay, let's call it a technique to be on the safe side, shall we? Let me know what you refer to it as in the comments, by the way. But yes, the most back and forth technique that Goku has ever obtained. Let's talk about it. Not only is Ultra Instinct the newest and biggest thing that Goku has ever had, but due to the set of circumstances that it was acquired and has since been developed for the sake of a story, it is the most confusing as well. But, to be fair, it has at least taken away some attention from the likes of Super Saiyan a little bit. Like, it's one of those things where that big Super Saiyan bargain sale we've been used to is starting to end and will end very soon, so you must act now to not miss out. But one thing I reckon we can safely say, haven't I, is that Ultra Instinct has and will most likely always be a thing that evolves over time. Originally, we were introduced to the incomplete and possibly the most captivating, honestly, Sign variant, which in the anime was achieved by a hero resisting a spirit bomb, more or less, and then falling into a black hole. Yeah, that was a rather pretty trippy way at acquiring something new, eh? The first time around, wouldn't you say? I mean, still, it's pretty epic, and it's a really cool way to do it. Kinda like how Goku got Super Saiyan 4 through orchestral fanfares and Pan crying. You're certainly not going to be forgetting that in a hurry. As for the manga, it was less of a culmination of things, his training taken from various masters, it just sort of happened. Of course, both examples of media share the fact that Goku could not initially keep up Ultra Instinct Sign, and needed to be pushed to his limits in order to return the sensation later on in the tournament, which finally culminated with him transcending and obtaining the more complete version against Jiren, Mastered Ultra Instinct. Now, here's another little fun thought for you. Toriyama's design for Mastered Ultra Instinct here isn't all that exciting to look at, it's just a recolor. How is this different to the one we see in the tournament and after? Well, here comes Tadayoshi Yamamuro to save the day. That's the main Dragon Ball design storyboarder for decades, by the way. The one that caused everyone to look really stiff and stuff. He added his own assets as the animation supervisor of Super, which gave Goku a bulkier and more aggressive look when in the state. And then of course, you got the stuff that happened in episode 130. The animation, so yeah, it's impressionable to say the least. And also temporary, because as we know, Mastered Ultra Instinct kinda broke Goku's body later on, due to the strain which was putting on the Saiyan's whole organism. Nevertheless, we saw the development of this technique over time, and tremendous stress as well. At least with this technique, we saw Goku acquire more and more control over it, instead of when we just saw Super Saiyan Blue for the first time, it just sorta happened. We actually see some build up with Ultra Instinct, unlike that. Thanks to Miras' training, however, Goku was able to finally call this form at will, at least Ultra Instinct Sign, and make his body more used to the intensity of the state. The addition of Goku being able to use Ultra Instinct Sign at will also, initially sort of cheapened the experience, but it sort of felt like Goku's own version of the ultimate powers than Gohan has, like he was sort of emulating his son, only without the downing of the bang. It was a tangible show of progression for the Saiyan in the time since the tournament. It would be weird if Goku hadn't made any advances during his time in Miras' personal room of Spirit in Time, and it would also have been equally weird if he suddenly got Mastered Ultra Instinct at will. It was sort of a right balance. On another side note though, it is worth noting to you that initially, Ultra Instinct, at least in the anime, had been advertised as one of the highest achievements you could get when practicing the likes of God Ki, any God Ki. This is meant to be something that is the precursor/tool of the likes of angels and destroyers, at least at the time. Perfect this, and you're right up there with the beings that run the multiversal show. That is before we got a slight retcon in the Granolah arc, stating now Ultra Instinct is more of an angel specialty exclusively, less of a destroyer one. Hence why Beerus had never really previously gotten the hang of it, nor liking this power as he stated in the Tournament of Power. And nor was he that good at it. We had always known though that angels were in this state all the time, constantly ultra, able to not think their ways around problems and just do. But at the same time, we had this false understanding of sorts and misconception that all divine beings aim to get it. Hence we had Beerus clarifying this with his wheelings and dealings with Vegeta. It was also a large part of Moro's downfall actually, sort of actually beginning the significance of it, sort of showing also the achievements and merits of Goku that he is able to use his angelic power at all, without turning into a blithering and jabbering imbecile. I mean hey, that happened before he got Ultra Instinct in early day Super, am I right? When Moro was using 7-3's powers, that copied Beerus's powers and therefore Ultra Instinct as well, the Ram Man didn't realise that his body could not take all the might of this sign power, having never been exposed to it, nor even really knowing what it was, just accepting this power. There was only so long he could cope before his body would then start to reject it, as we saw. Moro had to then fuse with the Earth's crust itself in order to be able to even survive and spread the power out, let alone carry on the battle, which then melted his personality even faster, turning him into a giggling idiot godlike being, something that H.P. Lovecraft would absolutely adore. So where are we now with Ultra Instinct? That's what we wish to move on to now. Well, as of the time of writing this script, shortly after Chapter 72's release, we learnt that Goku can use the incomplete Ultra Instinct to then improve his other forms like Super Saiyan God. That's a pretty big deal, and a nail in the coffin in fact for the notion that Ultra Instinct is a transformation, actually. Could you call this new facet of UI a means of stacking powers on top of other powers from what you can tell? Well, that's a toughie to be honest. It's just like little bits and pieces of it. This could also strengthen the idea that UI is a technique as it's being used as a tool with another power, in any power. But on the other hand, from a narrative point of view, we are glad that Goku is still obsessing over the form, as we thought that him being able to tap into it of his own free will and actually get mastered Ultra Instinct would kind of put Ultra Instinct on the shelf and become forgotten about when, of course inevitably, other transformations would come along that make Goku look different and then become the hot new thing and selling toys to the public and then just that other thing being forgotten. But it seems like Goku has merely adapted the dodge instead of eschewing it completely, while Whis and Beerus were born with it, and as such, there is a long way before Goku can use it as adeptly as the likes of those chums. This understanding has come around at the right time, and quite importantly, this would probably save the likes of Goku from falling, especially since we now have Granolah to contend with in this saga, a being who can innately find imperfections in anyone's movements, thanks to of course his radical eye, and only to have to wait a split second in order to hit their vital points, his enemies by the way, at the right moment, and thusly take them down and out of their powers. We can see Ultra Instinct working well enough for Goku to get out of trouble, and Goku only falls to Granolah when he lets his guard down and is distracted, not using Ultra Instinct in some way. Clearly, Goku's betting off using an evolving UI than being without it, which again makes the narrative for this upcoming arc all the more interesting, showing us as a collective that Goku might be trying too hard in this battle, and therefore not using what would be the most efficient thing to use at that precise moment, but instead, he's trying to push his own agenda, his own usage of Ultra Instinct too fast too soon, without fully acknowledging it and the pitfalls that would come along with it. In short, Goku was far too eager to show off what he can do, and had found out during his training montage with Whis in Chapter 71. Now, this isn't something that should be scorned by us. It is within Goku's character to be like this within Dragon Ball Super, but also in Dragon Ball Z in fact. Goku's an eager beaver when facing an interesting opponent. It's also a thing that is quite rightly spotted by Vegeta, the analytical one. And while we do have to admit that Granolah's powers might be a little bit overhyped at this point in the story, he can literally find a specific moment between the blinks of UI to hit Goku suitably, that's fast. The bounty hunter isn't the only one who's been buffed to Hivel and back. Think about it. Ultra Instinct has been overpowered since its debut. But that being said, we don't feel angry towards Goku and the like. In fact, we understand Ultra Instinct's place now much better than before. Quite frankly, we prefer to have found out that Goku is only at the beginning of his training of it. He has a very long way to go in order to fully control it, rather than being able to out-dodge everything at will right now, or, like with Super Saiyan, mastering it within a matter of a few months. Quite clearly, he's going to have stumbling blocks along the way whilst using this power, and for a long time yet. Which is comforting, in fact. This again gives us hope that we will see some character growth from all concerned as we progress through this latest saga, as Goku's over-reliance on trying to challenge himself, rather than solving the problem in front of him right now, might be his eventual downfall in his encounter with Granolah. Goku is too obsessed with his development to realise that he has to fight an enemy right now. I mean seriously, it already cost him at least twice. That's very unlike Goku to make these kinds of errors, which actually isn't a bad thing. It at least shows us that he can slip up. Honestly, we think that Goku and Vegeta, both fighting alone and fighting together, are more than capable of taking on Granolah, as they're able to overpower him with their experience. Let's remember, we haven't seen the likes of Super Saiyan Blue yet, or Full Fat Ultra Instinct. It would be incredibly jarring if the Saiyans were able to beat down Granolah in their base forms, or even just in regular Super Saiyan. But admittedly, it would be a teensy bit funny though. But Goku has the tendency of playing with his food being his opponents of course, and is more concentrated on training than rather beating a new enemy. It would be really cool to see that this one time Goku's approach to that would fail. That to beat a no-nonsense Granolah, you need an equally no-nonsense partner, Vegeta. But remember folks, this is only the first major fight of this saga, there's plenty of room to grow yet. We feel that while both of our characters show their egotistical sides in the way they approach this challenge in the form of Granolah, Goku is far too sure that Ultra Instinct will take him out of every messy situation. He's too reliant on it because he is smitten with it. Vegeta on the other hand remains more balanced, despite not having a trace of Ultra Instinct within him, with him both using old and new tricks. He does appreciate though the power of Ultra Instinct and what it can do for Goku, but sometimes you just need to win the battle, you know. You sometimes just have to use the old faithfuls. And one more big thing to remember is one of the most important traits of Ultra Instinct. Goku might be the first mortal to unlock it legitimately, that we know of, but he is still the weakest being to do so. He is at the bottom of the pecking order. This must be pretty exciting to him though, as there is a new ladder to climb. But Granolah is someone that can simply shoot him off of the ladder right now. Goku's not invincible or unbeatable at the moment, and while it's not useless against the Cerulean, it has become far less foolproof than in the past. It can be stopped with the right tools, and Granolah's got them. I mean, what good is Ultra Instinct when you can be sniped out of it? Goku's hubris and tendency to experiment in the middle of a crucial battle instead of training may blind him to the fact that this time around, showboating and banter is not going to get him anywhere. He needs to take his opponent seriously right from the start. I mean, yeah, Granolah's not a bad guy, at least not yet, but he also isn't interested in sharing notes or getting excited from the thrill of battle, nor is he likely to toy with Goku as Moro did. Granolah, much like Jiren, wants to just get the job done. But unlike Jiren, he has shown that he has ways of overcoming UI. But the question remains though, of course, whether these flaws will appear during Goku's silver-haired state, as so far we've only seen him experimenting with trying to get a hang of it in base, or trying to connect it with other forms. And we also know that he cannot keep the silver-haired form forever, but at least longer than he could have when he was battling Jiren, and possibly even more with Moro. But then again, Goku doesn't want to go all out, and Granolah might not be sure how powerful his all out is. At the end of the day, it is nice to see that Ultra Instinct is still a challenging technique for Goku. It's still going to be relevant. Though it would be really nice to see less retcons and convolutions, and instead more clear and resolute properties remain in place. We know that a lot of Toriyama's style relies on making things up on the fly, but in some cases, more solid planning is necessary. Still though, so long as Goku cannot dodge everything with a 100% chance of success, I think we're going to be fine. That is until the next big thing shows up! But what do you folks think? Do you feel that Ultra Instinct is still good? Are you curious as to how it's being implemented these days? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!